and welcome to the Bad Fan Gaming Podcast. I am your host, Cole Carter, and we are so glad you have tuned in with us today. This is something new that we're incorporating into our lineup of shows as a way to share our opinions on things beyond just sports. So if you're new to the podcast, then we would encourage you to subscribe for more gaming-related content. But per usual, on the sports side of things, if you've seen us before, I've been joined by my good friends, Brandon Patesnick and Stephen Curl, but together, the three of us will be joined by another one, and it's our good friend, Andrew. I'm going to bring all the boys in right now. Guys, how are we doing?
Great. Excited for the new face on here. Excited to be talking about something different than sports. And I think we're all, sort of interested in this topic, so it'd be good.
Yeah.
Hey, don't even get me started on the whole esports thing, okay? This is sport as well, all right? So just let's just make that clear.
When will it be in the Olympics?
I
We
love
need it in
that.
the Olympics.
Andrew, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you on the show with us, giving it a fresh take on the world of gaming. But we want to give all of us a little bit more on our background of gaming. But, Andrew, maybe you fill us in first. What type of gamer are you? What are some of your favorite games, series? What should we know about you?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a masochist when it comes to gaming. I'm a huge Dark Souls fan. I love stuff that really pushes you to the edge and makes you reconsider the install or the purchase. Those are my favorites. I'm really enjoying Elden Ring right now. It's out, but really anything like fantasy or these big stories, that's usually my alley. That being said, I think that my gaming motto is whatever my friends are playing. Especially looking at these three in here, it's kind of I hate Fortnite. I hate Modern Warfare, but hey, if everyone's on, I'll be on too. Yeah, but I don't know. I've been playing games for my first console was a Super Nintendo, which might have come out before you guys were born. I'm not that much older, but there's a little bit of a gap. I watched my sister play Donkey Kong Country, and I picked it up and said, "This is mine now," and I've been hooked ever since. So yeah, I grew up with it. It's a pretty influential part of my life, which I feel like you couldn't say that 10 years ago. You'd be called a nerd, but yeah, it's fun. It's a good hobby, and I really do feel like it's a great community thing for keeping your friends together.
Yeah, and you stream too, don't you?
Yeah.
That's sort of a bit of who you are as well.
Yeah, something kind of new, but had enough people say, "Hey, you should stream that or whatever." You get angry on stream, it'd be funny. So yeah, I do stream over on Twitch. It's Frigid Bones. I'm sure Cole can put a link in or whatever, but which is a whole nother world that I think Steven knows more about even than I do, and I'm the one that streams. So that's a little fun avenue, kind of bringing more community in.
Awesome. Steven, give us some background. What's your favorite game, series you like to play, maybe when you got started playing games yourself?
Yeah, so the first game that really comes to mind for me was watching my older brothers on the Nintendo 64 playing Zelda Majora's Mask, and me not being able to figure out the puzzles, and then just not giving the time to explain to me because I was the annoying little brother. But no, I think growing up, I was big fan of the Call of Duty franchise, back with Modern Warfare 2. It was really special times for me to be a 12-year-old on Xbox Live, screaming through the microphones. But no, Call of Duty, I think now more so I'm in the less time now for video games, but I'm in the FIFA realm. But when big games come out, whether it be when your Skyrim came out or Elden Ring, still haven't gotten around to that, but really enjoy those open world fantasy games as well, along with some mainstream titles. But again, along with Andrew, there's nothing like that first week when Fortnite came out and everybody's just feeling like they're discovering a little bit more about themselves while they're playing this mysterious battle royale game mode. So play Xbox. It's kind of been my my forte. But recently, this past Christmas, got surprised with the gaming PC.
Nice.
That I haven't taken advantage of because of life. But we'll get around to it, and it might be jumping on the stream of Frigid Bones maybe one day. But it's a little bit about myself and my gaming history.
In fairness to your younger self, I would honestly guess that a lot of adults still couldn't figure out the Majora's Mask like puzzles, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
fact of like it's a confusing game still. So you're not alone even today as an
Oh
adult.
yeah.
I could never get out of the inner city, like when the moon's coming closer and the clocks kept winding down, and then I would have just anxiety and nightmares about this scary moon looking at me.
So
If you know,
good.
you know.
You
Oh,
do,
yeah.
you do. Brandon, you've been on the sports podcast many, many times,
Yes.
but you're on the gaming one. Give us some background about you.
Yeah, so I'm probably what I'll call myself like a surface level gamer. I don't play a lot of games, and the games I do play, they're just very generic and usually the same year to year. So games like FIFA. I got into NHL when I was in high school. I used to love MLB The Show, and that's actually one of the first games I used to play. So my first console was a GameCube, absolute classic. And I really remember Smash Bros., MLB The Show. What else? Oh, NFL Street. I don't know if you guys have played that at all.
Oh, yeah.
But those were my 3 games that I would just cycle through. And then I've been a PlayStation guy. I don't know if that's just by like
A
specific
rarity in our
choice.
friend group.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
I might be the only one with a PlayStation, but I'm rocking a PlayStation 4 because I don't play enough video games to sort of want to buy a new station or a new gaming PC. And it's still getting the job done, but it's rough sometimes.
Those things sound like a plane. When
Yeah.
you get them going. You start with God of War, and it's like.
Oh, yeah.
Especially those controllers right now, huh?
Oh, yeah, my controllers are bugging out. Like they can't. I play some Warzone, and like they just can't keep up with like the dead zone and it gets laggy. I think that might just be the game, but it could also be the control. I don't know. It's really a mess. But I will say the benefit of having a PlayStation in our college house was our old roommate Tyler could play a couple of the PlayStation titles like God of War, like you just said, and what was the other one?
Uncharted.
Uncharted.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So he loved playing those. I didn't even play them. I think I own them still, but I didn't play. I did play Spider-Man. That was really fun.
That's good.
Man, it just feels like you're Spider-Man, huh?
It makes you really feel.
Just really
Like
feels
you're
like
Spider. But yeah, I think I covered everything.
Cool. Well, I'd really love getting to hear about you guys. Some background on me. It feels like I've been playing video games ever since I could walk and talk. I have a lot of awesome stories growing up. I broke my femur in 3 places over a video game once. A favorite story of mine was when I was like 4 years old. My parents came home. It's like 11 o'clock at night. All the kids are up. My sister was babysitting. My parents are like, why are you guys all still up? Like, y'all should be in bed. And they're like, well, Cole's the only one that can beat this level, and he has to get to a certain point for it to save. And like, I'm like a couple years younger than all of them, and I'm the one getting it done.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I've been playing Nintendo 64, Game Boy Pockets, Colors, all the Pokemon games back on those handhelds. I've played almost every single Legend of Zelda game, from Ocarina of Time all the way up now to Breath of the Wild. I'm kind of the player, like in Call of Duty, let's say, I feel like I'm pretty good, but I'm not like good of like, I've never gotten a nuke before. So it's like, I don't go on kill streaks, but I enjoy like getting a decent amount of kills.
Getting the job done.
Yeah, getting the job done. I'm usually at the top of the leaderboard, but I am not a guy that stays alive for 25 kills. I love FIFA. FIFA has definitely been my jam for a closer part of a decade or more now. I've made it up to Division 1, which is a nice thing to do when you're online.
Sounds high.
Yeah, I
It
think, I'll pretty much try and play anything. I love a great story mode game. But I haven't gotten my way into like the Soulsborne games. Like I haven't played like Sekiro. I haven't played like Bloodborne, any like Dark Souls and all that. But yeah, I love video games. I love that they have great entertainment value, and they can even give you, they can stir your emotions. They can make you feel a certain way, whether it be the Russians invading Washington, D.C. in Modern Warfare 2, or literally something as cute as throwing a stick at a dog in Breath of the Wild. Like it has such a wide range of things that you can interact with, and I think that's what I really love about video games. But guys, that was good. That was good to get to know our backgrounds a bit, what we love, and the gaming sphere of things, but we do want to give you guys a chance to kind of hear more of our opinions of the state of gaming. Today's going to be a focus on today's world of gaming, what it looks like on our outside outlook looking in. So talking about just like AAA game studios, the idea of where are they going, live service models, all those different things we're going to try to cover in today's episode. But yeah, we are going to jump in first. Guys, you're well aware that games were a lot different even just a decade ago. But we've seen games like Assassin's Creed, we've seen games like Red Dead Redemption, these huge worlds that really started out as things. I think in 2008 might have been the first Assassin's Creed game, and that was a revolutionary game. But they created these models. You had the idea of it's an open world. You had people you can go and talk to with quests, different things to collect. But it really started this formula that we keep seeing over and over, these kind of uncreative, copied and pasted AAA games. Andrew, you had a great example. We were talking a little bit before this of a game that you thought was sort of following this formula, and maybe some ways that we could critique the current standing of these games.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, it all kind of starts with Assassin's Creed, or maybe even looking back to like Steven's Majora's Mask. It's like you have these like kind of open worlds that are. You look at a game like Skyrim or Assassin's Creed, and you look at these, and it's kind of like, okay, you got this like checklist of things to do, and then you've got like baby Steven trying to figure out how to get out of the town in Majora's Mask because that game tells you nothing. It tells you nothing. You just got to figure it out. The game that I was mentioning before we started was Horizon. It's like a beloved franchise especially for PlayStation players. It's their big open world. And it's like, yeah, it's really pretty. It's really gorgeous. The characters are like nearly human. Like It's like almost you look at them and you're like, oh my God, I can see like pores on their face. It's all great. Like it's all really good. Even the last Assassin's Creed kind of felt like that too. But kind of the comparison that I brought up was you have Horizon, which is this massive game. And then you compare it to just something that came out in the same release window. I've been mentioning it a bit, but Elden Ring, which is like probably in terms of scale, pretty similar. And Horizon kind of takes your hand and walks you out and says, okay, this is the world. This this is a feather you got to get so you can craft something. And this is a quest that you can go to, or an NPC that you can talk to. And Elden Ring, walks you to the edge and pushes you off the edge and says, good luck. There's a few tutorials. If you can't figure it out, you should just uninstall and try again. And it's like, it's crazy because I personally follow my feed is a lot of gaming. It's a lot of, industry news and things like that. I just have like a keen interest in it. The hype for Horizon is not on the same level as Elden Ring. And it's not like, oh, Elden Ring's just better. It's you're challenging a norm. And I think that's kind of where you start, is that, you have these games, like you said, they're really copy and pasted. They kind of just, okay, we got a big map. Let's put a bunch of stuff out there and send the players on their way.
Right. Steven, I'm going to point this question towards you. I'm thinking like there are games that do stand out, like Andrew was saying, like Elden Ring. For you, like, what's a game that stood out, and maybe why did it stand out from the rest of those open world, like copy and pasted games?
Yeah, I think, and even I'm going to say Red Dead Redemption 2, but even a game like Red Dead still kind of has these moments where you are supposed to follow a narrative or in some capacity, but it's enough for me. It's toes the line. It's enough hand holding. I think the reason why it was so popular when it released is because we're moving from, back, like you were saying, like a decade ago, like 5 years ago, like the graphics are here and the big open worlds are here. And that kind of doesn't really impress people anymore, maybe the way they used to.
Yeah.
And so now it's, we're moving to a place in gaming to where it's like, okay, but like what's in this game? I remember being like, oh, wow, this map is scaled so big. And like, even a game like Skyrim, which I fell in love with, it was fantastic, but I do all the quests and then it's kind of really it, unless you want to go on a random rampage and kill everybody in a town,
Right.
which can only be fun for so long. But yeah, so I think Red Dead stands out for a title to me, to where I'm like, I'm able to, have good karma, bad karma, change the outline of Arthur's, the main character, how the game will end. Is it going to be sickness? Is it going to be a gunshot throwdown, wound, or and that kind of stuff? And so I think when it comes to, and specifically talking about these RPG games, these role-playing games that are big and open world, which to Andrew's point, I feel like Elden Ring and the guys over at Dark Souls, they know they have a good product, and it's kind of, how do I say this in a kind way? It's like, we know it's good, it's putting a sales pitch down and saying like, people will like this game.
Yeah.
And it might cause you to uninstall and all that kind of stuff. But to whereas you're seeing people uninstall Call of Duty because for all the different reasons. There's a good uninstall, and there's just uninstalling because the game is trash and lacks creativity, heart, like emotion, and you see all of that reflected in a game like Elden Ring.
So Brandon, you kind of talked about some of the games that you enjoyed playing. A lot of them were more competitive, kind of one-on-one games. What keeps you from playing a AAA game like an open world, or what draws you into a game like that?
Yeah, so I actually did play, like, I think it was the first Assassin's Creed. I did play some of the first Horizon as well. And they're fun. I've never played a Dark Souls game. But for me, like as a casual fan, I just feel like it's just too difficult. I like video games, I really enjoy them, and I really enjoy watching people play them, but just like getting, I've never been that committed to play those games that are going to take time, that are going to be really frustrating. Usually for me, just, I guess, as like the surface level gamer, is just to go and enjoy it for an hour maybe or so, and then set it down, and I don't have to like think about where I'm at, get back into the, the mind frame of playing, those type of games. But yeah, I think it's really cool because those games, and this is sort of what you guys were hinting at, is like, it's for video game lovers. Like that's their audience. I feel like when they're making these games, they're not making it for a casual. They're not making it for the 8-year-old kid who plays Fortnite. They're making it for these video game lovers who like just are craving something good, right? I think that's why we're seeing Elden Ring be so successful as, at the moment.
Yeah.
I think I started thinking about some games, and I think I played a lot of the same games you guys have, but let's just talk about like Breath of the Wild. It's one of the best games. People, they regard as one of the best games ever. But when you think about it, there's like 15 cutscenes in the entire game, and they're maybe 30 seconds long. They're like memories in a sequence that you have to recover. And so it's not even a game that's like has this deep, compelling story. It's literally like you don't know where you are and what's happened, but you have to go into this wild and explore it and find out like for yourself. And there's a certain creative freedom that I think comes with games, that when they allow you to just do what you want, your imagination can go wild, and it can allow you to create your own world. It's a lot of fun to go and just climb a mountain in Breath of the Wild and then parachute off and like go and fight this huge moblin that's like 10 times your size, and you can beat them, and then go fight Ganon at any point you want. Like that's a really cool thing that, a game like Assassin's Creed, you literally have to slowly walk behind an NPC to get to the next objective. And I think that's why this is going to take me to the next talking points. That's why we've seen introduction of a new genre like the Battle Royale, where people saw a stalemate in this AAA open world genre and decided, well, what if we started to pit people against each other in a huge kind of sandbox arena and see what they do? And I think the epitome of that was Fortnite, right? We saw Fortnite introduced, and we saw it change, I think, the entire gaming landscape. And it forced people to create new entire games. It forced games that were getting stale to have to try new things. But we've seen now, we're probably, 5 years in or so, maybe 6 years now into this really big Battle Royale shift. Is it the epitome of gaming? Can it get better? Or are we going to kind of see it start to get stale again with the Battle Royale kind of model?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I feel like Battle Royale is like the natural progression of like multiplayer, where it's like, okay, we grew up, at least the four of us grew up playing games in these, linear maps. Like every Call of Duty map has like an A line, a B line, and a C line. That's just like what we grew up with. CS:GO is kind of the same way. Battle Royale is like, what if we took that and we just bombed it and just made a completely new system? I do feel like it's kind of like the next generation of like multiplayer games. And I think too, Fortnite standing out. A lot of people, maybe even watching this are probably going to groan at the mention of Fortnite, but it stands out because for the same reasons that the games you mentioned, like Red Dead and Breath of the Wild, stand out. It's a paragon of its field. Like it is the best at what it does, and consistently so. I mean, you guys have way more Battle Royale experience than I do. I usually just hop in, but yeah, I think it comes down to this is kind of a natural progression for me, at least.
Yeah. Brandon, how do you look at Battle Royales? Do you think they're a good thing? Like, what are some of the negatives from your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I do like them, and like we've said, they have sort of changed this landscape, and I think it is this next progression of multiplayers. If you're creating this multiplayer-based game, online game, and you don't have a battle royale, and you're not creating something new that is going to get people's attention, it's like you might not really have much success. I think we hopped on Fortnite very early on. I think within the first season when we were playing. And
you saw that John Wick coming at you for the first time.
Oh my God.
Run.
What is happening?
Fear incarnate.
Yeah, we got a bunch of no skins. It just brings back good memories. But, the game's changed to where people are just like crazy at building. And so it's not even fair. It's not even fun. But like, I think that's just a part of video games, right? People just become better than everyone else. And that's just how it goes. But I will say, like, those type of games are targeted Fortnite specifically, it's targeted at a very young audience. Kids that throw their parents' credit card into their what have you, and just buy the new skin and whatever. I was watching a Dr. Disrespect stream, and he sort of touched on it. There's 7 clicks to get to the main page
I saw that.
just to start a game or choose a game mode, and it's just all basically ads, right? Just new skins, new packs, whatever it is. So that's maybe a negative part of the game. We're just like inundated. Well, it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? The game's free, and that's how they make their money.
Mm-hmm.
And Fortnite does a really good job at creating these skins. The game itself is like animated and it's attractive, it's unique. But yeah, I think it's just it's I don't know, to me I see it like as a big money grab a lot of the time. And even when talking about Call of Duty Warzone, if you don't have the battle pass, you can't really get guns or level them up very quickly, so you can't really be good at the game. You need to buy certain packs to get certain loadouts, and it's a whole thing. I do miss the days where everyone's just on the same playing field and leveling up guns as you go instead of buying these packs. But like I said, they're free, and this is how they make their money. So I guess I can't really hate on that.
I think my favorite part about the Battle Royale genre is that it's going beyond just the 4-player like local split screen. For the longest time you had LAN parties, you had like Halo at its height was like you had a bunch of people in one house playing against each other in the lobby. But it's cool now to where you can feel like you can test your abilities against 100 other people, right? I think that's what was such a cool thing, especially early on in Fortnite when it wasn't filled with like bots even, was like I knew that there was 99 people I was going against, and if I won, that was a huge deal. And that's why we saw like people not winning a lot. They're like posting it on their Instagrams and Snapchat and like, oh my gosh, like freaking out because it was a new cool thing that like you didn't have the chance to do that before. You know, you could like talk some crap against people like on FIFA, like, you know, you beat them 5-1, they quit, and like you message them after, like, haha, like laughing in their face, or like, you know, you teabag in Halo, like, but now you had this new ultimate way as bragging rights, and it was getting a victory royale in Fortnite. And that's been the coolest part for me is like, as a competitive natured person, like when I got the #1 spot, like that fueled me to want to keep playing. And then when I was like, you know, if I do win at this game, then like I feel better about getting the battle pass and like buying a skin or two. Yeah. So it's like I do enjoy like that reward of like, you know, instead of having to pay $60 for a game and sucking at it, I can go in for free, suck at it, and be like, okay, well, it was free anyways. Or I can then be like, well, this is fun, then I'll invest more into it. And I think at the base of it, it's a good model. But I think because it is free to play and because they do have to consistently like change where they want to go, the direction, maybe it's animation style or maybe it's just like the map, it's always changing, which brings us to like the live service model, which for me I think is a divisive thing. I think it's, again, the premise of it is awesome. It's like updated games all the times, but in reality there's got to be something you have to sacrifice in order to have a live service game. And I think for me, I think they've existed for a long time. I'm sure, Andrew, you could probably elaborate more on it. But the idea of, like, for me, the introduction of it was, like, Destiny 1.
Yeah.
Destiny was a one-of-a-kind game at its time that it was, like, a first-person shooter kind of, like, MMO, RPG-ish kind of game. And it was constantly changing. You had new worlds. You had, you know, Andrew, what's the traveling weapon guy? What's his name?
Xur.
Like you had Xur that was bringing new weapons like every week in a different location, and like it was refreshing, but it was different in that it required a huge grind. Like you didn't know how long a certain weapon was going to be around, so then you had to pour in 12 hours just to get this like Gallahorn rocket launcher, like, and even then, because of the introduction of loot boxes, which is a totally different topic, like you didn't even know if you were going to get certain weapons at certain caliber like levels, and so just crazy. But Andrew, do you think the live service model is the way to go in the future? I don't really know what more to ask than that right now, but like, is it the future of gaming?
It's tough because like, so I have a inordinate, embarrassing amount of hours in both Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. I have like a tattoo.
It's disgusting.
I have like props and art in my house. I'm sitting next to all of the art books for Destiny. So I put a lot of time into Destiny. But I think with live service, you run into this issue where it's like, live service is great if the quality meets the price. So I think you kind of see this thing, and this is getting into some deep Destiny stuff, but you had a lot of these like $10, $15, 3-month seasons, and a lot of them just weren't worth it. Not even worth $15. And I think that's kind of where you run into this issue of, okay, are the companies making it worth it for you to continue the live service? But where you get into Destiny, and I'm sure you guys can chime in too about this with battle royales. It's a little 4-letter word, FOMO, because the minute you miss something, all you're ever going to be reminded of is that you missed it.
Right.
That Fortnite skin that you wanted, that you forgot to level up your battle pass for, you wanted to be Goth Raven. Well, sorry, you can't get it anymore. And now you have FOMO, and now your brain is telling you, hey, you can't miss another season. Because what if you miss Goth Raven again? Or what if you miss Iron Man again, or whatever? So I think that's kind of where the industry pushes you towards that kind of FOMO thing. I was going to ask specifically Cole, actually, a question for the questionnaire, but do you think, before we move into like the live service conversation, this is something I was looking at, kind of Halo Infinite, Battlefield, I guess maybe some of the other like COD, I guess for Steven too. Do y'all feel like the Battle Royale environment has pushed the smaller team shooters to be better? Or do you think that they have just kind of stagnated and maybe can't hold up, because we've seen some pretty like interesting releases as those two have kind of branched further and further apart.
Yeah, I think for me, I'll speak more into recently with Halo Infinite. That was a game that we've known about for a very long time, and I had a lot of excitement for. I think early on, the idea of them, I think initially they talked about like the new slip space engine, the new like
Yep.
restarting the story kind of, but they never made any mention of a battle royale. And for a lot of people in this subsection of arena shooter, thought, okay, let's see what Halo does with that, like without the battle royale
Yeah.
element. And for me, I was like, all right, this might be back to its roots, back to really competitive, like ranked Slayer, really intense, whatever. And I think they simultaneously got caught up in this whole kind of live service model idea that, we have to do like what's the latest and greatest, that they then dropped the ball on the multiplayer end. And now they're stuck in the middle of like, well, do we try and make multiplayer really, really awesome by adding new maps and guns and things? Or do we try and make this kind of bad campaign that's half open world, half not? And it's, for me, like I think kind of ruined a good thing that they had going. I think like something else I was talking about earlier that does not quite fit your question, but I wanted to mention it just because I thought it's important. But the idea too of, because these studios feel compelled that they have to create something new and refreshing, that they don't actually preserve the things that they made. Like you said, kind of the FOMO, but if I'm talking about Halo 3 had an amazing campaign with amazing set pieces. Just because you had one road to go down on Salvo Highway doesn't mean anything that like it wasn't awesome to like see the Covenant ships going in on Earth and like glassing the planet. Like that's an awesome set piece that in Halo Infinite did not replicate at all. I didn't even finish the campaign because it was so boring and so repetitive, because it's copy and paste. Like you're going into a tunnel on the Halo ring and it looks exactly like the 50 other ones you just went into, and the surface of it is just bland. And it's because they thought, oh, well, we'll just change everything as it goes and make it look awesome and this and that, and the story will evolve over time, over the 10-year period. It's like, but what about now?
Yeah.
You didn't give me a compelling story. You didn't make it like something that I want to play again, because you don't even give me the ability to play it again. Like that's what I want, is replayability in a game that gives me a story, because I want to live it again because it was special. That's why I played Red Dead 2 twice, close to 100%, because it was compelling.
Oh, yeah.
It made me emotional. It, gave me opportunity to have different stories in each and every way. But I don't think that the live service model has pushed these arena games enough, because they haven't focused on their roots and they've been stuck in the middle of like, well, do we need to join in on what's popular? If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I'll even say, you were talking before, specifically with the relationship of like arena shooters and kind of that more competitive, or the battle royale. And you guys, I love Gears of War. Gears of War.
I'm glad you mentioned it.
Gears of War was an Xbox exclusive. Kind of was a very unique game when it came out. Big cover shooting game when those weren't really out. But a big part of it was arena shooting. And even Coalition came out. The developer came out with the thing that they're folding on the esports. Said this is the last season of the esports and it's going down. And Halo, definitely more so Halo than Gears of War, was kind of those titles that made Xbox different and needed to make them unique for those times. But yeah, you're just not really seeing these arena shooters, and the reason why it's folding is because Gears of War, the popularity stopped a long time ago. And then you introduce these battle royales with these new flashy NFTs and whatnot. But then you also have games like Valorant that are extremely popular and are done very well. And so it puts these titles like Halo, that's had an identity crisis for a little while now, surprise launching the game, doing really well, having a ton of traction, a lot of players, but not really having more than they dropped the ball, like Cole was saying, on who they really are and what they do. But a gaming studio that I think, as far as just like live gaming goes, is I think of GTA. Grand Theft Auto is a game that gets released, it feels like once every 10 years.
It just released again.
And it's because they constantly and I think they do a really good job at it. And it's the popularity of Grand Theft Auto has never really suffered. People know what it is, but it's changing all the time. And it's again not a battle royale, but it's a different aspect, I think, of kind of like this live updating gaming. It's kind of stuff that we're talking about. And yeah, I think the thing is as well, real quick, with even a differentiation of Fortnite and Warzone is Cole mentioned it, of like there's incentives by the battle pass when it comes to Warzone of leveling up your guns better. And you're just not going to be that good if you like don't put the time into it and don't buy the pass. Whereas Fortnite, I'll give them props, is never really, you just pick up a gun.
That's true.
And I think that's always been an inviting thing for people to like, oh, like, I know I'm not going to get absolutely waxed by someone that's going to have like a level 80 gun. It's really simple, and it is what it is. And they even just took out building as well.
I saw that.
To also level the playing field, and streamers have been going back to it and saying really positive things about it. So, but yeah, it's so difficult with all these new titles coming out. You almost assume that every game's going to have a battle royale. That's what's selling the money and bringing all the audience to those games.
Brandon, you have, I think, kind of become a secret fan of this game. It's a PvP kind of game. It has sort of that similar style to Valorant. I'm talking about Overwatch.
Oh,
why do you think
golden
Overwatch?
era.
Why do you think Overwatch succeeded for so long, and even still to this day continues to be such a popular game?
Good.
I was actually going to say that. I was going to hop in. So I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, it looks really good. You know, it's its own world. It's very simple. And something that we sort of talk about, or we've talked about earlier, is like this team aspect, right? You can get a team of people on, your friends or anybody, and it forces you to play different characters who have different traits, which is a unique idea, right? That's not in any of the like main titles that we hear, like playing a tank or playing, I don't even know all the different names, healer, but like that's a very unique approach to a game. And then you see it in the competitive space, right? Which I don't know if you've ever watched any of those like competitive matches, but like they're intense and they're a lot of fun. Especially if you know what's going on, you can sort of follow it, but because it can get pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's just good. And when the second, I don't know, not season is the new map of Warzone came out, because that's the game that basically we'll choose to play and hop on. Like the drop was so bad, so many bugs, just so many things that it's like, I literally bought, I didn't own it. I literally bought Overwatch, convincing friends who had it already to hop on it again, who hadn't been playing it, to play it because Warzone was so bad. And you go and you play, Overwatch, and it's good. It's clean. Basically, everybody knows what they're doing, what the objectives are.
Yeah.
They have different game modes that are good and fun. Yeah, and you have that competitiveness. So it just ticks all the boxes. And they keep updating it, so it is sort of like a live service. They keep adding maps, they keep adding new characters, they keep buffing and nerfing. I think it's Blizzard, right? That overlooks that.
Yeah.
The Xbox.
Let's not get into
it. But they have done a great job.
Oh yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
With that game. So yeah, I've really enjoyed playing that a couple times, and I don't know. I guess that's really all I have to say.
Overwatch has like an insane amount of polish. That's like the thing I always think about when I play that game, is like everything works in this game and it's crazy. I mean, I think Overwatch is kind of like my Fortnite, because when it came out, we were like in the alpha, in the beta, I got to right under top 500 playing tank when it was big on PC. I was into it. I would play like 100 hours every
flex,
2
but
weeks.
okay.
Way too much Overwatch, but it was a game. I think that's like kind of what you're talking about. It's like there's like a competitive nature to battle royales, but there's like this other level when you're playing with a team. If you're playing with 5 people in Overwatch, you're unstoppable. Yeah. I mean, it's insane. I remember when everyone kind of got a hold of it on our friend group, we'd have those rare nights where everyone had a night off and you could just really get on there, and it would just be, I mean, obliteration of all the teams. And it was like so much fun. And I just really feel like you hit it right on the head. It checks all the boxes, and it's so polished. Like just looks so good, and everything plays so well. I miss Overwatch. I should have jumped in with you guys.
Still trying to play Overwatch now?
I still have it downloaded. I still got it downloaded.
It's 1 gig.
I would love to. But Brandon touched on it a little bit. I want to talk about this. I think it really plays into this new age of gaming that we live in. And this follows more on the developer side than it does the playing side. And I think that because, arguably, I think the Xbox 360 was the largest jump in like high fidelity gaming. Like the graphics sort of reached like a really nice, like, it was 1080p HD gaming. Like really, games look great now, but whatever. It hasn't been such a big jump since then.
Right.
But I think they've tried to make games bigger, more whatever. And we've seen like a lot of examples. Like Brandon, you're talking about the new Caldera map with Call of Duty. When it launched, I could not see my gun in a first-person shooter. I repeat,
minor
I was
details.
playing a gun game.
You don't need it though,
and I could not see my gun.
Melee.
So, basically, the point I'm making is with these live service games, it requires these companies to create and craft quickly, which we've heard so much about in the gaming world about crunch. Studios just hiring and firing people just to if they don't follow the program, they're in and out. Andrew, could you maybe provide like a little insight of, why this is happening beyond what I just mentioned, but also like, is there a solution that we could maybe find to prevent these games coming out unfinished and unpolished?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest question in the industry now. And like I said, I follow a lot of industry people, a lot of news and stuff like that, but you really have, at least from where I'm standing and the games that I play normally, you have more games that come out not finished than finished. I mean, it's insane. Destiny 2, Destiny 1, Halo Infinite, you could write a list and we could do the rest of the podcast just listing off games that didn't come out finished. I think a lot of it is the culture around that workplace and the workplace environment. Video games are a traditionally really kind of male-dominated industry, and the industry starting to get some different effects from just different things that are happening in the world. And I feel like people are finally starting to take a look at, okay, what does it feel like to work for a games company and you open the door and it's a bunch of Rockstar employees sleeping on the floor, and you go, oh, didn't want to know about that. And I think that's like part of honestly, my first reaction to some of the crunch stuff was like, oh no, like I now have this information, and it's like, right. Is it like an ethical thing? But I think too, and this is an interesting discussion because it recently just came up for the first time, and I think it's actually relevant again. So they remade Final Fantasy VII. It's one of the most iconic video games ever made. Most people our age probably haven't played it or have heard about it, whatever. It's just a big game. They remade it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to play it finally. It's an old favorite of mine. And I went to the Epic Games Store, $70. And I went, wow, that is the first time I have ever seen a game at $70. And I went, I played it. I finished it. It took 20, 30 hours, whatever. I sat back and I said, that was worth it. And I thought, wait, hold on. Are these games worth more than we're paying for them? And I think when you get down to it, it's like you look at a game that we all played, or Brandon, I'm not sure if you played with Red Dead. You at least watched it probably if you were living with Cole. We all know.
Yeah,
Which,
I definitely watched it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like you look at Red Dead and you're like, this is not $60. This is not a $60 product. Like, it is way more. Do I want to pay more for video games? No, not at all. I don't want you to hike up any price tag. But you do have to wonder, and they're still making tons of money, but it's like kind of a discussion you can have about people on the internet too. It's like the development and the like society or community around games is kind of on different paths. Like you said, the Xbox 360 is really this advent of like these games that look amazing. And it's like, okay, but it's still $60 because don't change that price. Don't do that. Don't mess with it. And I think a lot of these game companies, and I just looked up the Warzone map, and I when you said that, I wanted to see the gun thing, and I'm literally looking at a guy with just the hands, which is it's actually pretty cool.
I have a game clip. It's literally I was able to snipe someone without a gun. I'm like, this is what I've resorted to do.
It looks awful. I can understand why you guys installed Overwatch, but I look at this and I go, this is a squeeze. Like, they're trying to squeeze all of the work they can out of their employees before they move on to the next thing. Because as far as I understand, and I have some friends that work, or that did work at Blizzard on the Overwatch art team, and they were saying, we're never working on the thing you're playing. Like, we're always working on the next thing. There's never like a stop break in it. And I think a lot of games, specifically ones we've mentioned, like Breath of the Wild, like the game has so much love and care and so much polish because everyone was just working on that game. But you look at, when this Caldera map comes out and it's like, oh my God, nothing works. It's like, because the team has already moved on. I just think there's a lot of rush, a lot of demand, and not a ton of supply in terms of the workforce. And, obviously you have some crunch, some cultures and workplaces that aren't super great. And that stuff is just going to affect the product. That goes for any like corporate thing. It goes for sports teams too. I mean, when you have like a community or the people that make up the group aren't performing well or aren't acting well towards each other, it affects the product. I think that's kind of the core, is like we have to kind of adjust the industry to the quality of the games.
Steven, what do you think is driving these? I think it's sort of a layup question.
Robots. Sorry, did I get it wrong?
Good answer.
Good answer. Good answer.
Like what is driving the consumer side of like crunch? I guess, is that a bad question? Like, why are we continuing to see crunch happen over and over with these big studios? From your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna echo like basically everything that Andrew had said. Just these big gaming studios. I think for so long we've just been limited of our access to different variety of games, and the industry actually being, like Andrew's saying, like diversified. And in these big game studios, like, they make money. The products suck, but they make money. Like, and it just, however, gaming is literally one of those things, like, on a business model. Like, I'm sure if you were to take like literally people that learn business in college and stuff like that, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, they put out poor products, they get terrible reviews, and they sell millions and millions and millions and millions of copies. I was even looking at some flops for games, and in 2020, Avengers put out a game. It was horrible. They sold 65 million copies. And
horrible, right?
And they even had a net loss, but it doesn't matter. And it's some way that they're still coming out of that, like, okay, let's do it again. And so I think even the fact that if you're passionate about video games, you've always been pretty limited in job field. We're starting to see that change so much now, and you're actually able to leave gaming studios now, and you can go start your own streaming channel, or you can. It's such a strong community now, filled with so many different people, of different races, ethnicities, like everything, and it's a pretty strong community that is, starting to collaborate on things. One of my favorite guys, Dr. Disrespect, has worked on the Call of Duty development side. also has designed maps for other gaming titles, and he's developing a game, and he's telling us that it's probably not going to come out for another 3 or 4 years. That's probably the way it should be, to Andrew's whole point about moving on to the next thing. And he's even gotten some backlash recently about NFTs and stuff like that going on. And he was joking on his stream, I think it was like yesterday, 2 days ago. He was like, oh yeah, we're just going to develop this game in the dark, not have any fan interaction, and then just release it in 3 years and hope it does well. I feel like that's been the strategy of, you know, you look at a game like Cyberpunk, like, oh, it's coming, it's going to be great. And you're getting lawsuits over it. And so you kind of hope to see smaller gaming companies get more money put into it because of just the popularity of video games. It's skyrocketing. Both people streaming or watching and buying the games and stuff like that. And just Andrew had a point even before the stream of just video games being way more accessible. Like I can play Call of Duty Mobile, or I would never, but it's like, but so you can play games now a lot more. And so, and then I'll be done on this point, but I think the gaming studios better change. The big guys, the EAs, the Rockstar, the Blizzard, Activision, like all these guys, Treyarch, like, because times are changing, you know, and people are going to start to invest in something that has passion, knows personal relationship with the developers, or at least are able to see that vulnerability side. The transparency is the biggest thing, I think. But yeah, anyways, that's kind of like my little soapbox rant. But in short, though, these big gaming companies, I don't see are going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is I hate seeing a game announced and then it canceled, right? Brandon, for you, maybe you don't play as much video games, but like, what are some examples of games that maybe you got really excited about for the future of that were ultimately canceled and like you then became super bummed about?
Honestly, I don't know if I can point out any, but just from an outsider perspective, seeing these games that take forever to make, supposedly, right, and you're looking forward to them so much. I think Red Dead 2 just did a really good job at like giving a product, just from my view. I didn't play the game, but I watched it and it looks great. The cutscenes are great. You know, that world is great too. I think that's something also that, you know, can we get something new? Can we get something like a new world that's going to be more engaging and fun? Like, can we be creative rather than, it sort of goes back to the copy and pasting thing, but like, it's just the same thing. How many times is Call of Duty going to do World War II or World War One? How many times is Battlefield going to do World War II or World War One? You know, and I don't even necessarily want them to go into the future like they did for like 5 games. You know, I just want maybe something with the same mechanics or something similar, but just like a different world. You know what I mean? They could be more creative. But yeah, going back to like your question, like, Halo is a flop. Like even I was sort of getting excited for it, right? Like I said, I enjoy watching streamers. I enjoy watching you guys play. It's like that game was buns, man. That game sucked. A game that I really loved in high school. I played Battlefield 3.
It's a tale of woe.
You know, just like a classic. But the new one, 2042. I haven't watched any streamers play it. Maybe for a day.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned Cyberpunk, Steve. It's like, yeah, like that was going to be the new world, right? Like that. I was really excited for that. You know, the whole vibe of it was awesome. It was on point, and it wasn't finished. No. Like, why'd you release it if it wasn't done? Why would you do that?
So these hamster wheels of employees at these gaming studios, just I feel like when I see that, just getting whipped and just like, you know, get it out. We got to get it out. We can't push back the deadline anymore.
Right. And at that point, I feel like you just might as well cancel the game if it's not finished, or just keep. I don't know the ins and outs of these things,
right?
But maybe Andrew can talk more to that. But it's just like, I can't understand why, right? Like the product that you're putting out is crap. Like why? What's the point?
I think if you were going to say something, Andrew, I don't know, but I'm going to say the question or the answer is obviously it's a business, and
yes, agreed.
But the issue is that the corporate higher up side is leaking. It's not even leaking. It's just pouring into the creative side.
Oh yeah.
And creative decisions aren't being made by the creative people. It's being made by the wallet of the people higher up. And I think, like, I saw it on Reddit this week. I was in the Halo page, and someone posted, like, I guess it was 343 Industries, like, reviews of, like, the company itself. And they're like, yeah, like, I was so excited to jump into this company and, like, have the opportunity to work on the game. But, like, the things that we wanted to do were just shut down. And if we didn't go along with it, then we were out, because we were just contracted workers, because they didn't bring on the people that wanted to have a voice full time. And so they just kick them off if they didn't comply. I think about one of my beloved franchises. Like, I'm a huge Star Wars guy. A
lot of canceled games.
Yeah.
Probably the most.
Yeah. Like, arguably the biggest games that I got excited for would just get canceled, or the ideas of games like, Battlefront 2015.
Tower one. What was it was like a Boba Fett game, right?
Yes.
Tower 31
yes.
or something like that.
13,
Dude, I used to watch that trailer like
13,
every day. 13.
But the point being, like, Battlefront 2015 was, like, rushed out because they had to have it right before the Force Awakens release. And it was still a beautiful game. I still had a lot of fun playing it, but you could see how it was rushed out. So then 2 years later, they released Battlefront 2, which I thought personally was a more, like, rounded game.
Yeah.
Had beautiful graphics, had a lot more, like, extensive, customization options, all the above. But then the executives looked at it and decided, Star Wars, we can make a lot of money with Star Wars. We can sell skins and make a lot of money off of Star Wars. Actually, you know what? Let's develop Battlefield 2042 and take the DICE team off of Battlefront, and then totally just abandon Battlefront, even though at its highest point, the highest player count, they canceled the game. When the most people were spending money on skins, the most people were excited to play the game, and they canceled it. That makes zero sense from a business side. It makes zero sense from a creative side. And we saw the fallout with developers leaving DICE, because why would I want to go work on 2042 when I want to work on the greatest franchise, or the biggest franchise on earth, with Star Wars? And so then we don't get to see a Battlefront 3 when, like, they had so many ideas for it, to bring in new heroes, to bring in new planets and maps. And, like, it just doesn't make sense when these, people higher up that are, CEOs and whatever people, that they think, oh yeah, this is a really smart thing to do. When in reality, they're missing out on money by not letting the creative people do what they want to do. And that's why I admire companies like, Nintendo, where, Breath of the Wild 1 was probably in years and years of development. And now 2, we've known about for a handful of years. And we still don't even know if it's coming out this year or not, because they're not telling us.
No way.
Because they want to make sure it's ready. They want to make sure it's done, and they'll spend the money. They'll make sure it's, in the oven long enough to make sure that it is one of the best games that's made. So that's what I admire about companies, is that they're not just churning it out to churn it out, but they're taking the time, like we've talked about before, kind of belaboring the point, but just making sure it's a game that is fresh, it brings in new things, and brings in a new player base. Ultimately, that's what you want. You want to sell games. You don't want to bring in the same 10% of people that are going to buy it no matter what. Like, you want to bring in new players and give them something fresh. And I think that's why, the big games that we've been talking about all through this podcast have been things that, brought in the team element in Overwatch. They brought in the new universe in Elden Ring with, like, George R. R. Martin doing something cool with it. Whatever, like, that's why Assassin's Creed and those games got stale, because they weren't doing anything new. And it takes time to do something well. And if these companies maybe just need to scale back a bit so that they can, drop down maybe the HD fidelity of the game and worry more about the actual, ins and outs of the coding and how it's working, like, make sure that's going first before you try and send it out to the world. But ultimately, I think that covers a lot of what we wanted to talk about today. We spent the better part of an hour, getting to introduce ourselves, getting to talk about, the state of gaming. That's what we wanted to cover today. Guys, it's been a really awesome hour.
Before you wrap it up.
Go ahead.
What are you guys excited for this year? What are you looking forward to? Because I want to know.
Yeah.
I guess I need to add it to my list.
I just said, I'm like waiting for more Zelda.
Okay.
I've been
Do
waiting-
you think it's gonna make it this year?
I think Breath of the Wild 2, if it doesn't make it, I hope that they release like a remake, like Majora's Mask. Like, you know how they did the Mario All-Stars, like 3D All-Stars?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I would hope that they would do like Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, Majora's Mask as a 3
That'd be on my download day one.
because they skipped like, Mario got a huge 35th anniversary like thing celebration.
Right.
Nintendo didn't even send a tweet out for
Same
Zelda.
year, right? Isn't it the same year?
Didn't say a word about it. So there's
My
sort of
child.
like a background idea that maybe they're just like waiting for some reason to send stuff out. So I'm hoping that we get a Zelda game. Like, I would play the crap out of anything that comes out, even if
Sure.
it is like, Wind Waker. Like, I didn't get a chance to play, Wind Waker on the Wii U. I didn't get a chance to play Twilight Princess on the Wii U. So like, I would love to have it on my Switch. Other than that, I mean, I'm trying to think. They just, like, speaking about Star Wars, like, they just talked about Star Wars Eclipse, which is hopefully gonna happen. It's a studio that's in
man.
a lot of kind of
Yeah.
turmoil potentially. I think it's Quantic
Looks
Dream,
cool,
right?
though. Yeah, it's Quantic. But yeah, it looks cool.
But that's a game that's like 5
That's
years
a
ahead.
lot
That like
coming
the
from me.
idea of it is cool. But yeah, I'm just ready for something that can, help me dive into a world. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be taken to a place that, can take me out of my living room and can engage me for, 30 hours. It doesn't have to be like super pretty. Like, I just want something that's engaging. And that's why I'm hoping it's Breath of the Wild 2.
Fair. Good choice. Steven, Brandon.
Yeah, I've been pretty stale with my video game choices lately.
Fair.
So I haven't been. Well, I think to Brandon's point, I haven't had the time to really dive into a lot of the games that I've seen come out, like the Elden Rings, and but now I got this PC, this beautiful thing. I feel like I have this just like treasure
It is
chest.
a gaming machine.
It is a literal gaming machine. I think I'm gonna take a deep dive into a deep dive into these Dark Souls games, and just the Gods of War. Like,
Wow.
I've never played God of War.
Yeah.
I've never done any of these things, so I'm excited to have all these new experiences. But
Sure.
other than that, I mean, I don't think there's really much coming out.
Not too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to the new FIFA. It's going to be so different. It's gonna be so good.
I just feel like Ronaldo.
And there'll be shows coming out April 4th. It's going to be
Oh.
the exact same
Yeah.
thing.
All
Am I
those
going to buy it?
sports-
Yes.
Yes.
They're the exact same, unfortunately, so I can't really say I'm looking forward to anything. I just wish.
You might see an Overwatch 2 for you this
Oh,
year.
yeah.
Depending on if
Sure.
Activision can get there and Blizzard can get their stuff in
Okay,
order.
I'll go with that then, because I feel
I
like
will be
that
there
would
with
be
you day one.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, Andrew, you're a Lucio main, right?
Oh my god, no. I played Reinhardt, which is maybe even worse.
No.
Andrew, what are you looking forward to this year?
Oh man, I am extremely hesitant when I'm saying this, but I am kind of looking forward to Starfield.
I
the
forgot.
big Bethesda
It's-
game coming out.
If it comes out this year, yes.
It's not going to.
Yeah, I don't think it is, but
But that's kind of my like big one that maybe I might see. Other than that, Overwatch 2, as much as I kind of feel weird about buying a Blizzard game right now, it's under new management. Thanks, Xbox.
thanks for
Thanks, Phil.
new management.
Under new management. But yeah, Overwatch 2 would be fun with friends. I think that's mostly it. Starfield, I'm super hesitant about, but I feel like it just, I don't know, it could be the one, It
Yeah.
could be Bethesda's entrance back into the sphere. Oh, and I was going to say Stalker, but I think
I
it's
haven't heard anything about that.
they're in Kiev, so I think we're going to have a delay on that one. Yeah. But I
didn't
think
about that part.
I think Steven, I actually have a game. If you want to add one to your
Son of
list
a
right
gun.
here, you want to add this one to your list. You finally grow up and beat it.
I will say I have never beaten Majora's Mask.
And I think that's on your schedule.
Stream it.
I haven't
Stream it.
before. Oh,
Please stream your first Majora's
That would be
Mask. Put
that's
speed
such
on
a
it.
great idea.
that's actually
Say
great
speed
content.
run.
I would watch that.
I would.
Speedrun would be like 5 days.
Yeah.
Straight.
90 hours.
That's so great. Well, yeah. I mean, it's not the greatest year of gaming, but hopefully, like we said, some of these gaming companies can get themselves together. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
preheat a little longer. maybe leave things in the oven a little bit longer so that we can get some really good
Nice.
products out
Nice
for the
and
world to
nice.
play. Because that's the thing, all of us want the gaming world to be a great place. We want it to be a healthy community. We want games that are fun to play, that bring people together. And there's nothing more divisive than a bad game, because then you have people coming at each other's necks, coming at developers for making a poor game that's broken, and developers are put in the unfortunate situation of having to defend themselves on Reddit, which is just a cesspool of people saying horrendous things. And so, they put themselves in these situations. If they would just take the time, maybe that we wouldn't have to deal with all of that, and the world would just be a way better place. Maybe not, but I tried doing it earlier. Andrew, I'm glad you brought it up. Talking about what's coming up this year. But yeah, this has been great. Really, really excited to move forward with our gaming podcast. Maybe it'll be called The State of Gaming. Maybe we'll call it something else, but we're just glad that you joined us for this long. It's not too often that you get the chance to express yourself, especially over a hobby that we enjoy so much, gaming. But it's been a pleasure to have Steven on, Brandon on, and Andrew. Andrew got the memo from watching our sports podcast to wear a jersey.
I wore my jersey. No one else wore theirs.
Steven, Brandon, and
I'm wearing my Perka.
are taking the day off with hoodies. Brandon's got his Fortnite.
My Travis Scott Fortnite hoodie.
Hey, I mean, you're kind of in theme. I probably could have worn a video game shirt, I guess.
So
but
we just decided to take a break from jerseys.
I'm a loyal fan of the podcast. I'm the loyal fan.
Andrew gets a gold star for that one. If you guys liked the video, we'd really be honored if you liked it. If you didn't like it, feel free to dislike. Leave a comment of why you didn't like it.
No, Cole, we're not trying to have people dislike the video.
Hit that
I'm trying to
subscribe
tell
Hey,
you.
Hit the subscribe.
no one sees the number anyways, so it doesn't matter. Only
Here.
I'll see it. Here.
Wherever it is.
But yeah, leave a comment. Find us on Instagram at the Bad Fan Podcast. We have some reels and posts that we'll be leaving there just about daily or so. And hopefully we'll be able to catch you guys in the next week or so here on the Bad Fan Gaming Podcast. And until next time, I've been Cole. Sorry, I'm Cole, not him. He's Steven. He's Brandon. And he's Andrew. And we appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time on the Bad Fan Podcast. Peace.